Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of BSing Sports here on the BSing Network. I'm Bill. With me, as always, is my co-host Ryan. It's good to, not really see you guys, but it's good to be back. So this week, as per the past few weeks, we're going to do Immaculate Grid. However, we're not doing baseball anymore. We're going to move into football. So we will do the football Immaculate Grid. Thank you for Immaculate Grid. The guys over at Immaculate Grid for giving us something to talk about. Moreover, thank you to Orphan Rivers for giving us our awesome intro music. If you haven't checked him out yet, he's on Bandcamp. And yeah, go do that. Bless you. So we're going to move right into it. We're going to get into our Immaculate Grid. For those of you who cannot see it or cannot read it for whatever reason, we apologize. Across the top is the New England Patriots, San Francisco 49ers, and 1,000-yard rushers. Across the left side are the Detroit Lions, New York Giants, and the Atlanta Falcons. We, again, gave ourselves 5 minutes before the start of our show to look at this grid and come up with some answers. Which one do you want to go with first?
Let's do it in order, left or right.
Okay.
Detroit Lions, New England Patriots. I said LeGarrette Blount. We could probably take more time to maybe figure out somebody more rare than that. However, nobody would come to mind.
I would agree that I wouldn't be able to figure anybody else out from that. Matt Patricia, but I don't think coaches count.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. LeGarrette Blount it is at 17%. That's actually not bad.
I don't love it. I don't hate it. Lions, Niners. I remember Ty Streets playing for both of these teams because he was in NFL Street, which was a very fun video game that they need to bring back. TAI and then Street.
Ty Street's 0.9% on that one. Very good memory on that one. Detroit Lions, 1,000-yard rusher. We could obviously go with Barry Sanders here.
We could probably do.
I don't know of any more recent 1,000-yard rushers for them.
Jamal Williams just did it last year.
I feel like that'd be really fresh in people's minds.
I think Sanders is also pretty obvious. I think good Lions running backs.
Blunt never rushed for 1,000, right? Well, we can't use him anyway.
Yeah, we can do Barry.
All right, Barry it is. That's 77% on that one.
Yeah.
Probably could have gone with Jamal Williams. All right, Giants, New England Patriots. This is one of the squares we struggled with. It's a home run. 4-3 Phils. Trey Turner. In case you guys are watching the Phillies, Trey Turner just hit a solo home run and is now 4-3.
Which is good. It makes up for his error.
It does, sort of.
Let's see. So
Yeah.
Giants, Patriots. I feel like we thought of somebody before the
show started.
Yeah.
I feel like we did have a name, and now it's eluding me.
Matt Breida.
That's right. No, that was the Niners.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Matt Breida played for the Niners.
He did in fact play. I spelled Breida wrong.
Brei.
Ryan blocked you in, didn't he? Go move your car, Ryan.
Y'all can go out tomorrow.
No, it's fine. He'll okay, whatever. Yeah. So Matt Breida gets you 16% on that one. So Matt Breida was a good one. We know that Tiki Barber rushed for over 1,000 yards as a New York Giant.
Brandon Jacobs did too, didn't he? Yes, he did. I know it for a fact he did. He might be more rare.
Brandon Jacobs. 11%.
Curious. I'll do my own personal grade and see what
we'll
Barber was afterwards.
Yeah, we'll do that later. 1,000-yard rushers.
No.
1,000-yard rushers for the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about it. Michael Vick did it.
Yep. He was the first quarterback to do it, I believe.
Because they want Mike Vick. There we go. 11% on Michael Vick. So a lot of people remembered. Not a ton, but a lot.
Warwick Dunn ran for 1,000. Yeah, those are probably the only two that I can really think of.
The San Francisco 49ers, Atlanta Falcons, we talked about this one too. Tevin Coleman, correct?
Yeah, Tevin Coleman played for both those teams.
There we go. 22% on that one.
Okay, so the outlier here is we don't know squat about the Patriots.
For those of you following along, we don't know anything about the Patriots.
Yeah, so the last two blocks we got to get are the New York Giants, New England Patriots, and Atlanta Falcons, New England Patriots. I'm
thinking defensive backs here for both because
I'm trying to focus on offense.
Rhodes, what was his first name? Safety from Atlanta during the Super Bowl year. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I can't think of his first name. New York Giants.
Man, that picture they got for Tevin Coleman looks like a mugshot.
Dude, Matt Breida, they just like took his whole face and stuck it in the screen. New York Giants, New England Patriots.
Now, keep in mind, we've been perfect. Well, yeah, we've completed the Immaculate Grid 2 weeks in a row now.
Baseball grids, though. We
correct,
haven't done
yes.
any football grids.
Wow, I am drawing blanks here.
Yeah. See,
I'm struggling here. I'm definitely drawing blanks.
Thinking Falcons, quarterbacks. We've got Mike Vick. We've got Matt Ryan. They've been pretty steady at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots for Tom Brady. Then he went to the Bucs, so that's nothing.
Yeah, I don't think Brian Hoyer played for either of these teams.
Did Bledsoe play for the Giants at any point?
I don't think so.
Okay. The McCowns?
Who started? It was oh God, what's his name? The dude that played when Brady was hurt.
Matt Castle?
Matt Castle.
I think he was a Giant at one point.
I think he was too.
All right, let's try it. Let's find out if we're going to stay perfect here. Matt Castle. No, he was a Chief.
I do too. I think he was a Giant.
Let's find
I'm
out.
not 100% on this.
He was not.
No.
All right, so we won't be perfect. I think one of the McCowns played for both the Patriots and the Giants. I just don't know which one. And I don't know if they ever actually played a snap.
I don't think Josh McCown ever played for New England. So if it was either of them, it would have been Luke.
Now, again, I don't know if he ever took a snap, which could turn into a problem. He did not. All right, so we weren't good today on the grid. We missed 2 blocks, 355 of a rarity score, which Ryan and I has figured out is very high. So it's been a little depressing. But it's okay, because we're here to talk football.
Yep, we love talking football. In fact, it's probably our favorite sport to talk about. Baseball holds a special place in my heart, but football, people just love talking football. Probably, I wonder if it's because football is the shortest season and we get the least amount of it that people really just tend to enjoy it a little bit more.
I think it's also you only get one game a week. You build up to the game. You get to finally watch the game, and either you're super happy or you're super disappointed, and there's no in between.
Yeah, can make or break your entire week.
It really can, especially as us Eagles fans.
Yep.
Yes. So we're talking Wests.
Yeah, the Wild Wild Wests. As you saw the thumbnail to preview the show, Wild Wild West. So we're doing AFC West and NFC Wests. We're going to start with we're going to go back and forth each who our 4th place team is, what we project their record to be. We went ahead and looked at their schedule. I've got the losses listed down, and then just some tidbits about each team, and then we'll work our way from 4th to who we think will be in 1st place in each the AFC and the NFC West. Starting with the AFC West, Bill, who do you have finishing in 4th place in the AFC West?
I don't really think it's too much of a surprise to any people that I have the Raiders finishing last place in this division. I got them only winning 5 games. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is an upgrade to Derek Carr. The team didn't do much to get better all the way around. They're still dealing with issues with Josh Jacobs. Yeah, he's reported and he's going to play, but the man wants a contract. And then, Darren Waller, who's one of the most prolific tight ends in football right now, gets traded to the Giants. So, no, I don't think the team got that much better. You didn't do anything to help your new quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo.
They did add Jacoby Myers, which, he's an upgrade over everybody else they had behind Devontae Adams. So
that's true. That is true.
But, yeah, I actually funny, we didn't coordinate this. I also have them at 5-12. I have their losses to Kansas City twice.
Yes.
I see them splitting with the Chargers just because those divisional games get weird. So I could see them beating the Chargers once. I do see them splitting with the Broncos as well. I have them losing at Buffalo versus New England, at Chicago, at Detroit versus the Giants versus the Jets, at Miami, and versus Minnesota.
Yeah, that all checks out for me. I did have all the exact same losses as you did. Some of them they're like givens, right? Like going to Buffalo.
And you talked about, Adams seems to be, kind of regretting going to Las Vegas. He's made some strange comments in the offseason. Apparently there was a, closed door meeting or whatever that he said this isn't thought like how I thought where this team was going to go or whatever. The coaching's a disaster. I don't trust
absolutely.
Josh McDaniel in the slightest as a head coach. Jimmy G, like you said, you don't think he's an upgrade over Derek Carr. I don't either. I think he's more so been carried by coaching and the teams that he's been around.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into. Yeah,
Jimmy G has a history of being injured, and he came into camp injured. Like
Correct,
there was almost a point in time where we didn't even think his contract was going to be validated because of his injury. And then, last but not least, Josh Jacobs isn't even in the vicinity of Las Vegas, so he's not playing.
Wrong there. There you go.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's on like Cabo or something. He's not in Vegas. So until he, at least shows up in the city of Las Vegas, I'm just going to assume he's not going to play, and I'm going to assume there's going to be a massive gaping hole in the run game.
Can confirm. Last year the Raiders went 6-11, and they didn't really look that impressive at any given time. Like you said, Josh McDaniels is not looking like the offensive mastermind he seemed and appeared to be in New England. Obviously, there a lot of that has to do with who his quarterback was at the time in Tom Brady. So, I mean, a lot of speculation there. We can only guess as to why they felt Garoppolo was an upgrade over Derek Carr.
I have the Raiders. I don't know if they have their first round pick next year, but they are one of the probably 3 teams that jump off the paper at me in terms of in contention for number 1 overall, which is presumably Caleb Williams from USC.
Yeah.
But I think that they're going to be that bad.
I also think that they're going to be that bad. I think that the 5 wins they get, one of them is going to be a surprise. Like you said, they'll go either into the Chargers and beat the Chargers, or they'll go in somewhere and win. But it's not expected. So again, I got them at 5-12. Ryan has them at 5-12. My second to last team in that division.
Third place in the AFC West is
the Denver Broncos. They went 5-12 last year. However, I've got them at 7-10 this year, just slightly better. Javonte Williams is coming back from an injury, the torn ACL. He looks like he's going to be ready for week 1, which is huge. Javonte Williams is extremely dynamic. You hope he's the same player he was before he got injured. However, things that concern me is Russell Wilson didn't look good last year, and guess what? He's a year older. He ain't getting no younger. And I know that Sean Payton is the head coach there now, and obviously he has a winning pedigree, but some of that you got to go back and fall on. Drew Brees was the quarterback for Sean Payton when he was a winner, So for me, this still isn't a great team. Maybe in a year they can get back to 500 and getting up there. But for me, 7-10 is where the Broncos round out.
Yeah, I have them at 8-9. I do think that they're going to be better because there's going to be a different culture instilled in that locker room. Obviously, we heard all the rumors about Nathaniel Hackett, and we all saw what kind of coaching job he did. However, I think Sean Payton comes in here and immediately turns some things around. We've already heard reports about Russ's people aren't allowed in the locker room anymore, and that he has to use team trainers. He has to use team coaches. He doesn't have his own office inside of the facility anymore, so he turned that around. But like I said, I have them at 8-9. I have them losing to Kansas City twice. I could see them being close games. However, neither one of those games right now I would bet for the Broncos to win. I do see them splitting with the Chargers. I saw them splitting with the Raiders, like Correct, I said. Yeah. So right now I've got 4 losses. I've got them losing at Miami. I got them losing at Chicago. I've got them losing against the Jets. With the reports that, everything Sean Payton said about Aaron Rodgers' favorite coach, I think he might have poked the wrong bear there. So I think the Jets come in and make a statement. I have them losing at Buffalo and at Detroit as well. So Sean Payton, biggest thing for me, the defense is going to be stout against the pass again this year. Russ looks like he's on a decline, but he looks like he's on a decline because he's unwilling to do what he was doing in Seattle, which was moving outside the pocket to give himself time. He just looks like he wants to stay inside the pocket. It almost looks like you have to design the play to get him outside the pocket or kind of force him to be outside the pocket. And he didn't look fantastic or comfortable in the first preseason game. Granted, it's just preseason.
Correct,
I get
yeah.
it. But when you have the season that you have last year, you have to, people are going to be watching you under a microscope, and you got to show some kind of improvement.
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of that wasn't coaching. We talked about it all season last year about how we were frustrated that the Broncos kept getting primetime game after primetime game. They were supposed to be good and they weren't. And we said it, some of it has to be Russell Wilson. However, some of it also has got to be the coaching. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if Sean Payton is going to, in fact, do things to get Russell Wilson, like you said, design plays to make him roll out so that he can't just sit back there and pass. But obviously it's something we can look forward to. How many wins did you have him at again?
I have him at 8-9.
8-9. Okay, so I have him at 7-10. Third place in the AFC West.
Yeah, so second place in the
Sorry,
AFC
second
West.
place. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Third team, second place.
I have the Los Angeles Chargers
Surprise there.
at 10-7.
Also 10-7.
I could see this being 9-8. I could see it being 12-5. There's a couple of games on there. And look, I just have minimal faith in Brandon Staley. He hasn't shown me that this team can consistently do anything. They have some really weird losses in his tenure as a head coach. And
yeah, I mean, the playoffs last year to the Jaguars, you're up by 3 touchdowns at halftime.
Yeah, that, and I mean, the Jags are a pretty good team, but that and the decision to play your starters deep into the third quarter the week prior, and Mike Williams gets hurt. And then, if it was not for 4 interceptions by Trevor Lawrence and then being gifted great field position to start almost every drive, like, they get blown out of that game. Like, the offense didn't look good when they had to drive downfield. That being said, I do think Herbert gets unlocked. I think Herbert goes to the next level with offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. Yeah. I think that he has done a fantastic job with Dak, and I think as far as tools and quarterback ability goes, Justin Herbert is definitely better than Dak Prescott. And Quentin Johnston I think he's going to make the biggest immediate impact of rookie wide receivers. I think that they're just going to air the hell out of the ball. I think it's going to be bad for Austin Eckler fantasy owners, but we're going to talk about that on the fantasy podcast. My 10-7 Chargers, I got them losing at the Titans. That's going to be one of those weird losses where it's like the Titans. We'll get into the AFC South, but I got them losing at the Titans, at Minnesota. I see them splitting with Kansas City. I see them finally getting over the hump. Justin Herbert is 0-6 against Patrick Mahomes. All 6 losses are by 1 score. I see them finally getting over the hump once. I see them losing in New York against the Jets. I see them losing at home against Baltimore. I see them losing in New England, and I see them splitting with Denver.
So I do have them splitting with the Chiefs. I agree with you there. I think Justin Herbert finally beats Patrick Mahomes in a game. And then I also have them at 10-7. I don't have the game-by-game breakdown like you do, but I do have them at 10-7. The number one note I have here is Kellen Moore is a much better play caller than anybody they had in the past.
Yeah,
and you've seen what he did with Dak Prescott, and you already mentioned it. I had this already lined up too, is that Justin Herbert toe-to-toe against Dak Prescott is far and above a better quarterback.
Yeah, and if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams can stay healthy this year, they have a nice trio of receivers that can, we're looking at 5,000 passing yards for Justin Herbert.
Correct. That is my other notation here. Is Williams and Allen are healthy, and then obviously the addition of Quentin Johnson.
And on a side note, the Phillies have completely opened this game up. They are now winning 10-3.
They are, in fact, winning 10-3. I can see it. I have it on over there. I can see it. Ryan can't really see it. The wall is blocking him. But indeed, the Phillies have opened it up. It is now 10-3. They batted around in this inning.
But I know you guys don't care about baseball. Who is your number one team in the AFC West?
Almost as if we couldn't have guessed this was going to happen to begin with. Turner just hit a second home run of the inning. The Kansas City Chiefs. Last year they go 14-3. They obviously win the Super Bowl over our Eagles. However, I have them going 13-4. It's hard to win 14 games in this league. I don't care how good your team is. It's just hard to do. Mm-hmm. I do have them at 13-4. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. That's the notation I made. And Andy Reid is arguably the best coach in history.
So I have them at 13-4 as well. I said should be business as usual as long as Mahomes and Reid are there.
Correct.
Which is true. The thing that scares me about the Chiefs, and I'll get into it when I get into their losses a little bit more, Chris Jones is not anywhere near Kansas City.
Yeah.
And he was by far their best defensive player last year and a force on the defensive line. And Frank Clark just signed with Denver. So their pass rush outside of Karlaftis, who needs to, he was good for a rookie, but that's worrisome for their defense because Chris Jones is arguably one of the 2 best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. So if he does not show up and report, that is going to be a huge problem for Kansas City's defense as far as the pass rush and even stopping the run, which they're not particularly good at, even with Chris Jones there. And then my last notation is, will Eric Bieniemy moving to Washington hurt them? I don't think so.
No, I mean, Andy
Reid's always had a pretty good offense under him, but as far as the Chiefs' 4 losses, I have them splitting with the Chargers. I could see them losing to the Dolphins, the Bengals, and I have them losing at Jacksonville as well.
Correct. I have them losing to the Jaguars.
However, they play Buffalo and Philly as well. If Chris Jones decides he doesn't want to show up and sit out for the season, or for whatever reason we see weirdness, I could also see them losing either one of those games.
Yeah, just like you said on the last one, I could see this being 13-4. I could see it being 14-3. I could see it being 12-5.
At worst, I see it, like I said, with Buffalo and Philly, if we want to include those as losses, I see it at worst 11-6, and they still win the division.
Correct, yeah. All right, let's move over to the NFC West.
Who do you have it as your fourth place team for the NFC West?
I don't think that's going to come as a surprise. I've also got them as my bottom team in football right now. They have the same record as the Raiders, or I'm projecting the same record as the Raiders at 5-12. But we talked about this a little bit before we even got started. Are the Arizona Cardinals, right? You know, you got a brand new head coach in there, former defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, head coach now for the Cardinals. But the problem I have, my notation is new coach, same old story. Is Kyler really the guy? They also let DeAndre Hopkins walk, who signed with Tennessee. We'll get into that in another show. But my biggest concern here isn't that Kyler Murray isn't extremely athletic and that he doesn't have the ability to be a good quarterback. I'm concerned about his drive, like his commitment, like how much he wants it, right? So if he's too busy playing Call of Duty rather than watching tape at night, it's really going to reflect. And I just, not to mention, he doesn't play for the first 4 games of the season, we think.
Yeah, I assume that he will start the regular season on the pup and that he will miss the first 4 games. Now, he could miss more time than that. It's very possible that he could, but that's my assumption, and that's what I'm basing these rankings off of.
Yeah, same thing, but I just don't see good things for Arizona this particular season.
No, and the first 4 game stretch is brutal anyway. At best, they would be 1-3 with Kyler, but without having losing all 4 games. So I have the Cardinals at 4-13. They are one of the other 3 teams that I have like immediately that just, come off the paper as they suck. I have them losing to the Niners twice. I have them losing to the Seahawks twice, and I have them splitting with the Rams. So I see them going 1-5 inside the division.
Okay, I actually have them splitting with the Seahawks and losing both to the Rams. Now, my Rams prediction is obviously predicated on the health of Matt Stafford. I'll get into that in a second.
So I have them going 1-5 in the division. I have them losing at Washington versus New York Giants versus Dallas and versus Cincy. I have them losing to the Ravens. I have them losing at the Browns. I have them losing at the Steelers, and I have them losing at the Eagles. The offense will be met. Right, Kyler's got all the talent in the world. Marquise Brown is a legitimate receiver in the NFL, and James Conner's a good running back. They've got Zach Ertz. They've got some pieces on offense. However, the defense atrocious, and I don't think that John Gannon's going to be there to help that very much. And I have Caleb Williams question mark on there. So that's what I feel about the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'll drive into my next team in the division. I think, and I need to predicate this. Listen, I'm not saying the Seahawks didn't do some impressive stuff last year. However, their schedule this year, you and I talked about it, is brutal. So they're my 3rd place team in this division at 8-9. Now, again, all of this is predicated on the health of Matt Stafford. He's older, shoulder injury, back injury, neck injury. We don't know how long he's going to be playing. But I got the Seahawks at 8-9. Last year they finished 9-8. Obviously made a playoff berth. They give Geno Smith a small contract,
3 years, $105 million.
Yeah, I just don't know if this team's going to be able to repeat the production that they put out last year. Again, I have them pretty close, 8-9 versus last year's 9-8. They obviously go and get Jackson Smith and Jigba, but that's 3 good wide receivers on one team now.
That team that's known for running the ball pretty heftily, which, by the way, they went out and drafted Zach
Charbonnet as well, correct, yes. Not to mention Kenny Walker is still showing some pretty good dominance.
He should be ready to go for week 1 as well with the groin injury.
But overall, I don't know if Geno Smith is the answer there. And I've never been impressed with Geno Smith, even when he was drafted out of West Virginia to the Jets. I was never a big fan of Geno Smith.
Yeah, he was the first quarterback selected in that draft, but it wasn't until the 2nd round.
Correct.
34th overall, I believe.
Yes, that is accurate. Seahawks 8-9, and again, talent. They've got talent on the offensive side of the ball. I don't see it turning into fruition.
So I have the Seahawks at 8-9 as well, but I have them in 2nd place. And since you talked about the Seahawks, I will talk about the Seahawks here. So I have them 8-9 2nd place. The offense gets a boost from Charbonnet and JSN, as you talked about, Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I think the offense, as long as, and this is my next part, Geno can play well again, I think ideally they can take a step forward. So why do I have them taking a step back and going 8-9 in the standings? This schedule is brutal. And you talked about it. I mean, we talked about all of their tough games seem to be on the road, except for the Eagles game. I mean, I've got them splitting with the Niners, splitting with the Rams. So there's 2 losses right there. I've got them losing at Detroit, which was a hell of a game last year between those 2. I've got them losing at the Giants, which could flip-flop for me, but the Giants are a very well-coached football team.
Yes.
So, I being that it's in New York, that's why I'm predicting them to lose. They go to Cincinnati, to Baltimore, to Dallas. Those are all losses.
Yes.
They play the Eagles in Seattle.
I still think that's a loss.
I could see the Eagles slipping that one up, but I'm not betting. I would not bet on that.
Correct.
So
yeah.
I think that the Eagles being the better team, I could see that. And then I got them losing at Tennessee too, because as good as Seattle's pass defense is with those young cornerbacks, we know the Titans aren't going into Seattle to rely on Ryan Tannehill, or the Seattle Seahawks are going into Tennessee and relying on Ryan Tannehill to beat them.
No, it's going to be Derrick Henry all day.
Yeah. So I just think that, yes, I could see them maybe 10-7 tops, but this schedule is brutal for them. This is probably one of the worst second-place schedules I've seen. So defense, young and promising in the secondary especially, good offensive additions. It's all reliant on Geno. Can he take it to the next level?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. You said it exactly the way I had played it out in my head, so good job for you there. Obviously, we're going to move on to the Rams because we both think the Niners are the best in this division. I've said it 3 times already.
Do we?
Yes, we do. I've already said it several times. This is all predicated on Matt Stafford being healthy because Stetson Bennett is not going to get it done. I'm sorry. I just don't feel that way. But yeah, so last year the Rams go 5-12. Obviously, a lot of injuries. Kupp was injured early. Stafford was injured later. I've got them finishing at 10-7. Same situation as the Seahawks. They do have a tough schedule. It's not as bad as the Seahawks, but it is a tough schedule. And I just think, getting the offseason under them and Stafford coming back relatively healthy, Cooper Kupp being ready to go this season. He had a dominant second half, even with bad quarterback play at the end of the year last year. It's going to be good. Cam Akers has another year removed from his injury.
Achilles injury.
Correct, yeah. So he's gonna look. Thank you. He's gonna look better. The offense looks poised to really make a push. Now I know they got rid of Jalen Ramsey on the defense. He had become kind of toxic in the locker room from what I read.
Yeah.
The defense for me isn't really.
The defense is going to have key losses on the defense is going to lose them games. I don't think the defense was particularly good with Ramsey there.
Correct. That's what I was trying to get at.
Worse without Ramsey. I actually have in my notes, Stafford will have Detroit-style flashbacks where it's him and Kupp trying to save this team.
That's funny.
Because it's true. I think that obviously they're the focal points. Cam Akers showed some nice, he had some nice numbers, some nice games toward the end of the season last year. But I have the Rams in third place at 5-12. I can only see that record going up per se. I don't think that they're bad enough to do any worse than that.
Okay, we are really opposite ends of the spectrum on this one.
Yeah, so I've got them losing to the Niners twice. I've got them losing to the Seahawks once.
Okay.
I've got them splitting with the Cardinals.
Okay.
They lose at Cincinnati.
Well, yeah.
They lose versus Philadelphia. They lose at Dallas.
I would agree.
I've got them losing versus Cleveland, which is my toss-up game. I've got them losing at Baltimore, at the New York Giants, and then I've got them losing versus Washington. I think Washington's going to surprise some people. And then my really swing game here is I got them losing at Green Bay.
Okay. I don't think they're going to lose against Green Bay.
I picked that because Green Bay is not going to lose every single game. I don't think the Rams are particularly good, and it could be stylistically a problem, and it's in Green Bay.
All right, fair enough. I mean, Lambeau does give, the elemental advantage to Green Bay, and I could side with you. A team come from LA, probably be a trouble. I just don't. I think the Rams beat Green Bay. I think the Rams split with everybody but the Niners in their division. I don't know. Like I said, everything is predicated on Stafford.
So like I said that was their floor record. I could see them splitting with the Niners, right? We seen them winning the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, and the Rams could completely turn it around and be that team that they were 2 years ago. I could see them beating the Cardinals. I could see them beating Cleveland. I could see them beating Green Bay. I could even see them beating Washington. So this was like a super floor record for me. I just don't have enough faith in the defense to sit here and say, yeah, I think that they can win those games.
I thought it was weird that they were kind of sort of shopping Aaron Donald a little bit there at the beginning of the preseason.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how committed McVay is to this job because it seems like the last couple off seasons he's been contemplating taking a booth job and retiring from coaching. So, I mean, Stafford, like you said, some injuries last year, but I mean, he did earn the nickname Iron Man. So, maybe he'll stay healthy again this year. But even him, how much longer is he going to play? How much longer is Donald going to play? How committed are these guys to putting in another full season's worth of work?
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. All right, let's move on to the best team in the division. And I think it's the second best team in the conference. I got the Niners going 12-5. Last year they were 13-4. Shanahan's offense is super easy to run, so whether they go with Trey Lance, which I don't think they're going to do.
Purdy was already named the starter.
Brock Purdy has been named the starter, so that's good. Good news for the Niners and Niner faithful. Listen, I said this before we got on the show, right? Now there's a season's worth of tape on Brock Purdy. The game plan defensively can come out and be different than it was against Brock Purdy going into the playoffs last year, obviously. But he was extremely effective. And listen, again, the Shanahan offense is extremely easy to run for a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is 24-5 or 24-6 or whatever in this offense. So I think that really does benefit Brock Purdy. But they're going to be a good team. They've still got Christian McCaffrey. They've got Elijah Mitchell, who's a good spell running back for Christian McCaffrey. Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk,
George
Kittle.
Yeah, they've got weapons. The weapons group is definitely not the issue. So for my notes on the Niners, I also have them going 12-5. I have their losses versus Cincinnati, at Jacksonville.
Yes,
they split with the Seahawks, at Philadelphia, and versus Baltimore. Purdy's already named the starter. That's obviously assuming health.
Yeah.
A little shuffling in the trenches. They replaced Mike McGlinchey, who they let walk in free agency, and they brought in Javon Hargrave on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. But speaking of defensive side of the ball, Nick Bosa is a no-show. He has not shown up to 49ers camp. He has not been at practice. He has not been at the preseason. At this point, 49ers fans need to be concerned. He's missing preseason action. Granted, he might not have played anyway, but still, he's not hanging around the team. He's nowhere to be found. Wants the contract. I'm sure he'll get it because he deserves it, and I like Nick Bosa. But if Nick Bosa, ends up missing time in the regular season too, that could be problematic for the Niners.
Yeah, I would agree that would be problematic. Just like we just talked about Aaron Donald with the Rams. I mean, Nick Bosa is the centerfold of that defense. I know they got Fred Warner at the linebacker position, but I mean, it really all starts up front.
Yeah, I mean, I think their defensive line masks some issues in the secondary. I don't think that their secondary is particularly good, but they have a good pass rush.
Yeah, and it starts and ends with Nick Bosa.
Well, yeah, they got Hargrave this year too, but they're going to really need Bosa, and I feel like that if Nick Bosa sits out, that's going to be a much bigger problem for the 49ers on defense than they like to admit.
Correct. So that's it for our predictions on the West. We are doing like we did last year with Timmy, our predictions week in and week out.
We miss you, Timmy.
Yeah, we do miss you, Timmy. We've decided to do. It's going to be the straight up. So like win loss, like you pick the game, the team. However, we are going to talk about our over unders. We're going to talk about all of our stats and stuff like that while we're doing our predictions.
Jake's going to be involved in that too.
Yeah, we don't know if Jake is actually going to be able to join shows with us. However, we'll have Jake's answers or picks rather, and have them lined up. We haven't chosen a consequence yet for loser, but we can talk about it if you guys want to throw some stuff in the comments for us and message us. Yeah, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, why don't we let you guys give us the ideas? Go ahead and give us a consequence, because last year, being all Eagles fans, it was easy. You just had to make Timmy, who was inevitably the loser, wear Dallas gear.
Correct. Yes, and he did. He
paid for it out of his own pocket and wore it, and he wore it with pride.
He did. Wear that badge of honor. But yeah, so we are doing that again, and we're looking forward to it. To be honest with you, I feel like my wife says to me once a week she can't wait for football while we're watching the Phillies. Now today it's a little different; they're kicking the Nationals' ass, but up until this point,
it wasn't like that the whole game.
It wasn't like that the whole game. But no, we obviously have been looking forward to football season. It's a lot easier for both of us to talk football than it is for us to talk baseball.
We've got a lot of content coming your way. Make sure you stick around and check out our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts can be found, because Jake and I are coming out with some incredible content. We'll start releasing these shows on there as well.
Correct. So that's going to do it here for us on BSing Sports. Thanks for joining us. I done messed it up because you didn't call Bill Penn. That's all right. I'll fix it.
Because it's football season. I don't call it a Bill Penn.
That's fine. Welcome to football season.
It's called a 2-minute drive.
Thanks for joining us here on BSing Sports, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Thank you and have a good night.